Welcome inside our Florham Park studios. I'm Eric Allen. Today's AFC East Roundup will focus on the defensive side of the ball, as we'll be joined by Patriots play-by-play voice Bob Socci, Miami Dolphins team reporter Greg Likens, and BuffaloBills.com lead journalist Chris Brown. We begin in Massachusetts, where Bob Socci is standing by. Bob, defensively, a completely different look, especially at the cornerback position. Revis comes back here and signs with the Jets. Brandon Browner, no longer a Patriot. How different is it looking at cornerback, and how are things shaking out right now?
Well, it's so hard to tell because, again, we really haven't gotten into that physical competition yet with pads on and contact. We're a long way from determining any defined roles. Certainly the Patriots coaching staff is, it appears. But nonetheless, you have to look at a guy like Butler, and after talking to his teammates, and even just watching him, for example, in the limited times we did, as little as a non-contact practice can reveal about a player, nonetheless you see things with Malcolm Butler and you hear things from his teammates. And the sample size last year was bigger than I think most people realize. So I think he's poised and to see a very prominent role in the secondary for the Patriots. And I think Logan Ryan is another guy who, in a sense, last year kind of put that year 1 to 2 jump on hold because of the players in front of him. Bradley Fletcher is a guy who, until last year, when he went up against some of the league's best receivers and got burned on a number of occasions by the likes of Jordy Nelson and Des Bryant. And when you talk about the secondary, certainly that's the position in the crosshairs, I think, more so than any other for the Patriots going into the season because of not only the quantity of players they lost, but the quality, starting with Revis.
As always, thanks, Bob. Our coverage continues as Greg Likens joins us from South Florida, where the Finns have been extremely busy this offseason. Who do you think is going to benefit most from Ndamukong Suh being a Miami Dolphin?
Well, we've debated this quite a bit down here because he's lining up, at least during the offseason workout program, on the left side of the defensive line next to Cam Wake, a perennial Pro Bowler. I really think the person who's going to benefit the most with those two guys on the left side of the defensive line is Olivier Vernon as the right defensive end, because I'm not sure how you don't double team at least one of Cam Wake or Ndamukong Suh. If you slide your protection over on that side of the line, Olivier Vernon is going to be facing single coverage most of the time. So I think he's going to benefit the most. And then a close second behind him is just the entire linebacking core.
Grimes is one of the finer cornerbacks in the National Football League. Aside from Grimes, what do you make of the Dolphins secondary right now?
The Dolphins secondary has a lot of depth, and Grimes is excellent, as you pointed out, and I think that the safety tandem of Louis Delmas and Rashad Jones is going to be very good. The real question mark resides at the corner spot opposite Brent Grimes, and Jamar Taylor has kind of taken that position in a stranglehold mode, at least during the offseason workout program, and seems to be a good bet to be the starter come week 1. He's a former second-round pick out of Boise State just a few years ago. Obviously, they don't have quite the same depth that they have up there in New York with the Jets, but a lot of the secondary success is going to rest on how healthy Jamar Taylor and Louis Delmas can stay back there in the secondary.
Greg, we can't thank you enough for your time. Let's wrap up our AFC East coverage in Orchard Park, New York, with my buddy Chris Brown. Can you name me a defender who's going to be impacted most by the transition from the Jim Schwartz defense to now a defense headed by Rex Ryan and Dennis Thurman?
I think Stephon Gilmore has a chance to be a Revis-type player. I'm not saying he is Darrelle Revis, but he's playing the same kind of role. If you look at his last 8 games last season in the Jim Schwartz defense, he was one of the most effective corners in the league in terms of opponent completion percentage. And I think with Rex's scheme, I think the sky's the limit for that kid entering his 4th NFL season.
What do you think about the back 7 when you include the linebackers and secondary together? You mentioned Gilmore, a very talented player, a former first-round pick who you expect to take strides here coming up this season. What do you make of that whole back 7 as a unit?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, the only guy that they really lose from that group that was on the field a lot is Denora Searcy, who signed in free agency with Tennessee. But, you know, they've got a guy that played almost half the snaps with him on this roster already in Duke Williams. The other cornerback spot's manned by Leotis McKelvin. And then Aaron Williams was an accomplished safety on the back end himself. So the secondary stays largely intact. As far as the linebackers, there's a little flux there. I mean, Brandon Spikes was here last year as a one-year guy, but he was really just a rundown guy. And Preston Brown was a revelation at linebacker last year, their third-round pick as a rookie. I mean, he was on the all-rookie teams and stuff, just racking up statistics and was the team's leading tackler last year. And then Nigel Brown will be lined up inside next to him, and Manny Lawson transitions back to the role he had on this team in 2013 when he had one of the most productive seasons of his career. And the other side is kind of open right now, depending on how often they want to play 3-4 or 4-3 looks. I mean, Jerry Hughes could be on the field and look like that weak side outside linebacker, but he's going to probably be more of a pass rusher anyway. So it's going to be a very hybrid look, and I don't know if they're going to be in 3-4 as much here, maybe as they were in New York.